My name is Kate Fletcher. I am a mother, an attorney, and I'm here today also as a volunteer with the Arkansas chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. And I'm here to urge this committee to oppose Senate Bill 24, more commonly known as Stand Your Ground. I'd like to use my time today to just review a handful of the facts before this committee. The first thing that we know for certain is that under current Arkansas law, Arkansans have the right to self-defense, including with means of deadly force. The speakers of the bill today as much admitted that. It is not disputed today that Arkansas law provides an individual with the right to defend themselves or others in dangerous situations. In addition to the well-established principles of the Castle Doctrine, which we don't have time to get into today, under current law, a person is not required to retreat unless they can do so in, quote, complete safety. To be clear, complete safety is a very high legal standard. In 2014, Sebastian County Prosecuting Attorney Dan Shue noted that the significance of the phrase should not be understated. He said, quote, that I have not found facts presented to me where I could say you could retreat in complete safety in 25 years of doing prosecutorial work, end quote. In other words, Arkansas's existing self-defense laws already sufficiently give people the right to protect themselves, their property, and others when necessary. Perhaps that's why both the Arkansas Sheriff's Association and the Prosecuting Attorneys Association opposed Stand Your Ground in 2019. And despite some vague claims to the contrary here today, neither association has endorsed the measure before this committee. Because Arkansas law already gives an individual broad rights to self-defense, the second thing that we know today is that this bill is an attempt to solve a non-existent problem. When Senator Ballinger previously proposed these measures in 2019, he was quoted as saying that current law, quote, leaves kind of a gray area. If you use force to protect yourself, you may actually be in violation of the law, and you can still be prosecuted for manslaughter, murder, whatever, end quote. In 2 years since pushing this policy, Senator Ballinger has not found a single case or instance in which the ambiguity that he believes exists has actually caused an individual to be prosecuted for manslaughter, murder, whatever. I should also note that there is a second layer to protect against unjust prosecution, should they theoretically happen. Prudent juries comprised of hard-working, everyday Arkansans have broad authority to establish witness credibility. And our Arkansas courts give great deference to those juries in their determinations. So one could assume then that proponents of this bill do not trust Arkansas juries comprised of common sense Arkansans to weigh factors appropriately. These legislators must fear that Arkansans will unjustly convict their fellow citizens for acting in true self-defense. I don't know about you, but I have more faith in Arkansans than that. Senator Elliott and Senator Hendren, members of two different political parties, both pointed out recently that supporters of this bill have failed to provide any evidence or demonstrate any need for changing Arkansas's current self-defense law. Please note, I did not qualify that sentence with phrases like a compelling need, compelling evidence or a reasonable need. No, I said any evidence, any need. Not a single case, not a single instant, not a single prosecuting attorney to go on record to say that the current law somehow forces them to prosecute cases they don't believe they should have to prosecute. And please understand that this lack of a problem is not exclusive to our great state. A task force was put together by the American Bar Association in 2015, and they compiled a report on all of these laws. That report included testimony from law enforcement officers and prosecutors that, quote, consistently focused on the lack of evidence of a problem that stand your ground laws need to solve, end quote. It shouldn't be surprising then that the ABA subsequently adopted a formal resolution urging states like Arkansas to refrain from passing laws that completely eliminate the duty to retreat. Growing up in the South, I was taught that conservatives, by definition, are principled persons who are adverse to change for change's sake. It therefore seems rather odd to me that some self-claimed conservatives, like Senator Ballinger, are now eager to change a long-standing Arkansas law without any proof that such a change is necessary. Failing to find an actual need to support changing this bill, supporters instead insist that passage of this bill will merely bring Arkansas in line with the majority of other states. The third thing that we know for certain is that these proponents fail to mention that the vast majority of such states passed their bills between the years of 2005 and 2012. This is an important fact. It means that these bills are not long-standing, but rather a trend, something else principled conservatives typically avoid. Arkansas now has the gift of time, and we can look at the actual effects of these laws and make a more informed decision. And to be clear, the effects of this legislation have been devastating. Reporters who dived into actual cases in Florida where stand your ground was used as a defense determined in the majority of those cases, the assailant could have retreated to avoid the confrontation altogether, and in roughly 2/3 of those cases, the person who was killed was unarmed. We hear a lot about Florida's law because it became the model for the other states that followed. But we can look outside of Florida and see what's resulted elsewhere. Other studies highlight overall that these laws are associated with an increase in homicide rates, translating to more than 150 additional gun deaths each month in the United States. And for those on this committee who worry about crime, I think you would find it concerning that roughly 3 out of every 5 people who claimed the defense in Florida when they had killed someone had prior arrest. Roughly 1/3 of those defendants had been previously arrested for serious crimes like assault and robbery. Research has also determined that these laws are associated with an increase in emergency room visits and hospitalizations. Our hospitals are hurting badly as is. Why would we increase the burden of our frontline workers? Aren't they doing enough? Aren't they dealing with enough already? So sure, other states may have these laws, but to loosely quote my own conservative mother, if other states jumped off a bridge, would we jump too? The fourth thing that we know for certain about this bill is that it will disproportionately impact people of color. In stand your ground states, homicides in which a white shooter kills a black victim are deemed justifiable 5 times more frequently than when that situation is reversed. And while we do not necessarily have data surrounding each of the circumstances behind these killings, the disparity is clear and should be conscience-shocking for everyone. According to the last available census estimates, roughly 15% of our residents are black. And in an era where more people than ever are finally concerned with inequities in the black community, why would we pass a law that negatively impacts them at such a disproportionate rate? And I could sit here today and inundate you with studies and statistics that have been completed and compiled by leading researchers all over the country. But I know that some members of the legislature would still call foul. So that's why today I'm going to forget about the vast amount of research for the moment and focus instead on studies published by the RAND Corporation. The RAND Corporation is a nonprofit organization that was formed immediately after World War II to offer research and analysis to the United States Armed Forces. Its mission has been broadened over the years, but it still seeks to present rigorous and objective research aimed towards the security of the United States of America. It is widely considered to be free from commercial, partisan, and ideological biases. In 2018, the RAND Corporation first published an extensive review of existing research on various gun policies. In that report, they concluded that there was moderate evidence, the second strongest level of evidence on their scale, that these laws may increase homicide rates. In 2019 and in 2020, both years, RAND authors published updates noting that since publication of their original report, additional studies meeting RAND's rigorous standards reinforced and strengthened the findings that these laws do indeed increase homicides and firearm homicides. I feel it is important to share with you that the RAND Corporation has also concluded that no rigorous study has yet to determine that these laws prevent gun violence or violent crime or promote legitimate acts of self-defense. In other words, nonpartisan evidence tells us that passing this law promises nothing except more dead Arkansans. Fifth and finally, we know that as of today, at least 4,895 Arkansans have died from COVID and COVID-related illnesses. Small business owners across our great state have been forced to close their doors. Families are struggling to make ends meet, struggling to educate their children, struggling even to safely worship with their communities. I don't pretend that I have all the solutions to these problems. I doubt one person or one political party could solve them all. I truly believe that preventing more deaths and re-engaging our economy is going to take all kinds of people and all kinds of ideas. But I know for certain, however, this bill isn't one of them. It will not do a single thing to help struggling Arkansans. My conservative mother also taught me the importance of giving people the benefit of the doubt, so I will. Giving this bill's supporters that benefit, the most generous conclusion that we can make today is that their bill is a problematic solution to a non-existent problem. And with so many real problems in our state right now, so many Arkansans that need leadership and guidance from our elected officials, I have to wonder, why are we talking about this today? I personally believe that you all have much more important matters to attend to, and I know that many of you feel the same. I ask that you oppose this bill. Thank you.
Are there any questions of Ms. Fletcher? Thank you, Ms. Fletcher, for coming. Entertain a question.
Yes, I will.
Representative Underwood, you're recognized for.
Yes, I appreciate your time here and your testimony. I just want to ask, did you say that these have been on the books since 2005, right?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Did you say that these laws have been on the books since 2005? Did I hear you say that?
The majority of these laws were passed between the years of 2005 and 2012.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized for a follow-up.
Are you aware if any of these laws have been repealed?
None have been repealed to date. However, as more information has come out about them, we do know that several states are considering repeals, including Georgia and Florida. Both southern states will consider repeal bills this legislative session.
But they haven't been repealed to date, right?
As of today, they have not been repealed. That would be dealt with this session.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I see no further questions. Thank you, Ms. Fletcher.
Thank you all for your time.